I know that this is intended as an award for achievement. Truthfully, I must accept it as inspiration. I thank you for this recognition. I get teary-eyed about the love and support I've known all my life. And even though I don't know all of you, I don't consider you strangers because we're Texans. And I know I'm talking to people who know what I'm talking about. Everyone does not grow as we do. And when I tell people about how I grew up, they really don't want to believe it. New York people don't want to believe it. California people can't believe it's possible. They just don't want to believe it. But we know that it's true. I wish women in film and this growing industry continued an unlimited success, and I thank you all.
Houston native and magna cum laude graduate of the Department of Drama at Howard University, Phylicia Rashad, has just been honored with the 1991 Topaz Award from the Dallas chapter of Women in Film. She's performed on stage, films, and television, where she's best known as Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show. Phylicia started her career at a very early age.
The first time I got on a stage was on a runway of a fashion show for the Texas Southern University nursery and kindergarten. I was wearing a lavender dress, and you had to walk up these stairs and down a runway and then down the stairs. I walked up the stairs, walked down the runway, got in the middle, and sat down. I was petrified. And some kind adult came and lifted me off and took me away.
You're from a family of achievers, aren't you?
I come from an environment of achievers. Yes, a family of achievers, certainly. A family of achievers in an environment of achievers. I certainly do. And teachers were a great role model. Because I noticed I had teachers who had been teaching for 25 years who kept going to school every summer.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was a very subtle statement. But it became very clear to me, you never stop learning. And if you're very serious about yourself as a human being, you don't want to stop learning.
Education is a very important part of your philosophy in life, isn't it?
I've been working with recruiting new teachers, a public service organization, which is sponsored by the Rockefeller Foundation. I've been working with them for over a year now. And I do have an affinity for teachers, for educators. I grew up around educators. So many of my family members were educators, aunts and uncles, my grandmother, my stepmother and her sister, and my mother. Even though she didn't teach in the public school system, she taught me almost everything I knew. She really did. I mean, you know, the basic things, and taking what was being learned in the classroom a step further, and even introducing things before they were introduced in the classroom. So I have a real respect for teachers and an understanding of the invaluable contribution that educators make. And I can truthfully say, I never had a bad teacher. Never. Never. From kindergarten through college education, I never had one bad teacher. The teachers were altruistic in nature. The teachers taught for the love of teaching. If the student was awakened to just a hint of ability within one's own self, that was a great achievement. I had teachers who worked all day long in the classroom teaching after having worked the night before doing their planning, their lesson plans, correcting homework papers, who stayed hours after school to sponsor clubs for us. You know, it was a very active communal effort. And it made a big difference in all of our lives. I was sitting with my classmates talking about it, my former high school classmates, my friends from childhood. We were talking about this. And I said, you know, well, sometimes when I'm asked these things in interviews and I tell people how we grew up, people don't believe it. They just don't believe it.
Phylicia was a very good student. You could see right away that she was quite talented. She would be full of questions, so you knew that she wanted to learn, and she did learn.
The television show that you do is kind of similar to your childhood growing up, isn't it? Your family.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. There are. Bill often reminds me of my father. I guess that's why, one of the reasons, I mean, apart from the fact that just as himself, he's absolutely adorable. But that's one of the reasons that I love him so, because he is silly. And my dad was silly, but smart. Very, very smart, and very, very together, but just silly.
Have you always had a positive attitude? Because, a very positive person, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you strike me that way, as being a real positive person.
Well, I like to think about the possibilities and look to the possibilities and go for the possibilities. Yeah, I do.
The 1991 Topaz Award winner, Phylicia Rashad. For About Town, I'm John Tanner.